Hey, everybody, welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It is November 1st, 2022. I'm Trey Crowder, and that's Mark Agee. What's up, Mark?
What's up, Trey? Hope you're doing good, bud. Lots to talk about today, including little hammers and
Mhm.
how the right has gotten so good at bullshit. It's not clear whether they're gaslighting us or themselves anymore. Before we get to the show, a couple things. Bolsonaro lost in Brazil, which is fucking
Did
great news for
did
the
he
entire
though,
free world.
Mark? It's still up in the air a little bit, isn't it, as I understand it. He's not
He
yet
did.
conceded, right?
Well, he won't congratulate Lula, but he did say that transition can commence, even though a bunch of like right
Oh,
wing truck
okay.
drivers have blockaded
Right.
roads all over Brazil, in
Yeah.
like 18 or 26 states or whatever.
It's like we've said
Um,
before, like the way we export that, but it's like our number one export now. America's number one export is that particular brand of radicalized stupidity.
yeah,
Like the dumbest shit we can come up with, the dumbasses in other countries see it and they're like, no, that's cutting edge dumbassery right there.
yeah. I think two of our biggest exports right now are like showbiz stuff and tech. So that's how that stuff travels. Yeah, but Brazil is probably the world's second most important democracy in the world when it comes to environmental stuff behind us. So that's good because Lula is good on deforestation in the Amazon, which is like if you're when it comes to the logic that we had to invade Iraq, like it's the Amazon is a doomsday device that will destroy the planet if it's raised, right? And so the logic there is much more one to one, but we don't think of it that way. So it's just like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying we should invade
I
Brazil.
was I was about I was about to say. So you're advocating for us pulling a little coup or invading them and just bringing them some more freedom and doing what's best for the people of Brazil with our
I'm
tanks.
actually like someone was calling it like the CIA flop era because a bunch of leftists had taken power in South America. And Lula was president before, and he's reascended the presidency after being like convicted on some trumped up charges, which I assume the CIA was involved in that. But I'd say it's pretty funny that yeah, they can't. When Biden and Bernie first, but then Biden also said we need a free and fair election in Venezuela, and people took it as a message to Bolsonaro, and I think more likely is also a message to the CIA. So that was funny to me. In legal news, talking about the Supreme Court a little bit today, but the Supreme Court denied Lindsey Graham's petition to not testify in front of the Georgia grand jury. So that was pretty funny. The logic of his appeal was that the speech and debate clause of the Constitution allows him to, in his private office, call the Georgia Secretary of State and tell him to change the election results, which is like speech and debate clauses. For example, if you read like some crazy shit that the executive branch has done, you can go on the floor of Congress and reveal it without breaking like top laws around top secret shit. But Lindsey Graham was trying to apply it to like doing a coup. I'm
Yeah.
not glad they. I'm glad they
Well,
smacked it down. Although they did.
yeah. Well, I mean, shoot your shot. What
Yeah.
else you? I mean, I'm not. I mean, wouldn't surprise me if it did work. The way they've been trending lately. So hard to
Yeah.
blame Lindsay, I guess.
John Roberts did temporarily halt because the courts had ruled that Congress could get a hold of Trump's taxes, and they
Yeah.
tried to appeal to the Supreme Court, and he stayed that for a while. So I'm assuming they're trying to run out the clock until they get a Republican Congress, and they just withdraw the subpoena. So yeah, that's how that goes. This is a fun story. What we're talking about election bullshit. So the True the Vote organization is being sued in Texas. These two gomooks by the name of Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips. They're being sued by a company called Konnech, Konnech, a company based in Michigan that provides poll worker management software. Because the CEO is a guy named Eugene Yu, who they accuse him of being a Chinese communist spy and to help throw the election to Biden. And he got a bunch of death threats, so he's suing them for defamation. And these people's story is fucking wild, Trey. They say they had an analyst. His name is Mike Hassan. They revealed his name reluctantly, who figured out that Konnech had been up to no good with the Chinese government or whatever. And so the judge is like, okay, I want to talk to this Mike Hassan guy. And they're like, we can't reach him because he's in hiding. And the judge goes, okay, well, if he's in hiding, you can't reach him. How do you know he's in hiding?
Yeah.
And then when they got on the stand to testify, they said, actually, there was a second analyst there. And the judge goes, okay, what's that person's name? They're like, we're not going to tell you because he's also in hiding. and if we reveal his name, he'll be murdered by Mexican drug cartels.
Yeah, you'll have that.
Yeah. And the judge is like, okay, well, you got to tell me his name by Monday or you're going to jail. And then Monday was yesterday and they wouldn't say who the second guy was. So they're in fucking jail right now. So that's today's edition of Fuck Around and Find Out. But here's the plot twist, Trey. The guy who's suing them, was arrested in Los Angeles because he for breaching his contract. There's the two jamokes. Because he did again break his contract by storing some of the poll worker data on a server in China. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything because I'm not sure what the Chinese government would do with poll worker data to fucking like this is just like payroll stuff. I'm assuming to rig an election. Much less why they would swing it to Biden because China likes it when Trump's president. But it's just they would.
Right.
It's total bullshit. But they would have had enough to hang their conspiracy theory on.
Right.
Just waited.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They're losing their minds in their conspiracy basement. I wonder how much money people like this spend on red string and thumbtacks and court boards and stuff. You know what I mean? Down there making their spider web, connecting all the dots between China and Biden and this guy and the Mexican drug cartel and all this shit. Like it's always something with them. But this one guy, that's a real Texas Ranger looking sumbitch right there.
Yeah. They don't need to connect the dots though. These motherfuckers could look at the Big Dipper and draw the Mona Lisa. So like it doesn't like it's what we're gonna talk about today when it gets to the Pelosi hammer attack stuff. But like it's wild, man. They can just make up stuff out of thin air and make it their whole reality.
Oh yeah.
Don't hit.
No, don't hit. I agree. All right. Well, let's get into it. With us as always is producer Matt. This is Weekly Skews. I do want to remind you, of course, real quick, two things. Number one, if you'd like to see me perform live, go to TreyCrowder.com. Once again, still haven't updated that graphic. It'll happen. But I got some LA area shows this month. The weekend before Christmas, I'll be with Corey and Drew in Nashville at Zany's, as we always do for our big homecoming holiday shows. And then in 2023, I'll be in a whole bunch of places. So go to TreyCrowder.com and check it out. Number two, if you enjoy this program and would like to show your support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to full-length bonus episodes. We did one on Friday about what is wrong with polling, and we've got plenty more in store. We hope you'll go to weeklyskews.com/more, or you can just go on Patreon and look me up. Either way works. Sign up on there, get some more skews in your life. Now, as for the show tonight, as Mark alluded to, in the wake of the vicious attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband in their home, right-wing pundits are desperately grasping for any possible explanation for this senseless crime, except, of course, the most immediate and obvious one. We'll discuss it in detail in a few minutes, but first, let's begin, as always, with the Daily Dumbass, man. Tonight's DD, anyone who thinks a 50-year-old's brain is fully developed, listen to this Georgia voter's rationale regarding the Herschel Walker abortion situation.
Does it matter to you if it's true or not?
No. As long as he is had a change of heart. I mean, we all do things when we're young, naive. He's an adult now.
Matter to you if it's
I swear if that damn Tom Petty song playing in the background of that gets this whole whole episode stricken or something, it's gonna drive me insane, but that's all right. Anyway, listen, I can't, the one thing I'll say is like, I do feel like Herschel Walker has the brain of a small child, you know what I mean? But I don't think small children should be making abortion decisions necessarily, but yeah, no, it's wild to couch this as like, well, listen, you live and you learn. But yeah.
Abortion's murder. He paid for a murder, but like, we all make mistakes.
But he was young. And naive. So who among us hasn't paid for a murder? The way I say things.
Lost in all this, a second woman came forward this week who's from Dallas. I guess this is from when Herschel played for the Cowboys, who said that he pressured to get an abortion and essentially said that if she didn't get an abortion because of his wife's family, that neither she nor the baby would be safe. So he was like threatening
He
her
said
life.
That?
Yes.
I can't believe Herschel Walker would threaten a woman's life. That seems so out of character for him. It's like, it's hard to keep up with the numbers of both abortions he's paid for and lives of women that he's threatened. It's like it's a wild thing to have a multiple unit list of he just keeps racking them up. Stand up guy.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about this anymore. If he wins, I'm gonna fucking I don't know.
Piss and moan on the show about it with
Yes,
me
I'll
for
bitch
the
and moan on
next.
the show.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna do.
That's also what I'm planning to do. So yeah, I swear to God, I'll do it too. I will. You wait
I will
and
bitch and
see.
moan
You
so
wait
hard.
and see. Say I won't, but if he wins, you'll see. I will piss and moan with the best of them, and that's all.
Yeah.
All
Good
right.
God.
Our first honorable mention for Daily Dumbass. Anybody who takes the time to hack a Twitter account that's got like 40 followers. An Ohio GOP candidate named Jared Golden has blamed a vicious hacker for liking a whole bunch of MILF porn on his Twitter account. That's right. He apparently, unknowing that likes Republic information, went on a bit of a spree looking at these sexy aged ladies, and then later claimed that his account was compromised, in fact.
Yeah, he said he was hacked as if like Antifa or the Chinese government or whoever would go after a Republican candidate for county auditor in Franklin, Ohio, who again had like 40, 50 followers. And the hacking doesn't even make superficial sense because interspersed with his likes of MILF pictures were like Trump was right about the election. So unless the hacker is like liking those tweets too, it's
well, we got to keep it consistent. They're trying to paint a believable picture, Mark. You got to be, you got to pay attention to the details if you're going to frame somebody for liking MILF porn. Although I'll say porn is a strong word for this.
Can you get an image up here, Matt?
Yeah, we could show it on here. It's fine. Look, see that? They got clothes on still. Like it. I swear to God, I would I don't know. Just roll with it. If you're running for county auditor or whatever, it's like, who don't like sexy ladies in tank tops. It's fine. It shouldn't be all that scandalous, but I guess, I don't know, all the other stuff that the, Family Values Party has pulled and it been totally fine. I feel like this probably wouldn't have mattered. The only reason we even know about it is probably because, he claimed he was hacked. Yeah, right.
If this is like some guy noticed it, some just random dude in this town noticed it, if he just done nothing would have happened, but he had to issue official denial to lie that he was hacked. And then this happened. But like, this is so innocent within the standards of the internet.
Yeah.
Like, who would care? It's just like no one would care but his wife, and maybe even not Ben. Right. So,
yeah, he should have been like, what? You don't think they're pretty? You saying these lovely ladies ain't attractive? Is that what you're trying to say? Like, he'd been better off doing that than whatever the hell this is. Yeah, the hacker thing. I guess it's because there's no other card to play in their minds. But like, how many different times, someone's going to claim to be hacked every time anything? Like, there was a basketball player, right, who was liking some anti-Semitic stuff, all the rage lately, and said he was hacked. But yeah, it's just always the go-to the point that I don't think anybody ever really believes it anymore.
Hackers aren't that subtle. People get hacked, because one, either they post crazy out-of-pocket stuff, on Maine, or they try to sell stuff to your account.
Yeah, I did get I got my Facebook hacked once a few years ago, and they immediately like changed all my profile pictures and stuff to the ISIS flag.
Yeah, that's
like you said, it's not subtle. Like they went on a tear immediately before I got it back. But
I do want to thank this guy for reminding me of like a time 3 or 4 years ago when Ted Cruz liked the MILF porn tweet on 9/11.
Yep.
So
I also immediately thought of that. All right. Our last honorable mention for Daily Dumbass. Supreme Court justices apparently for not having even a third grade vocabulary. Listen to Clarence Thomas in his abject confusion.
I've heard the word diversity quite a few times, and I don't have a clue what it means.
All right.
It seems to
so.
Yeah, that's all you need to hear.
These guys, I wanted to talk about the Supreme Court because they had 2 big affirmative action cases today, in between smacking down Lindsey Graham and helping Trump. And it made me so fucking furious. Regardless of what you think about affirmative action, you can always tell the Supreme Court wants to do some bullshit because they say stuff like that where they sound dumber than they are. Where
Right.
it's like, according to the plain letter of the law, it should be this way. And they go like, well, what do words even mean, really? And they start to sound like fucking Descartes or something. And it's like, you know what diversity means. Even if you think it's bullshit, if it's a bullshit thing to aspire to, you know what people mean when they say it. They mean giving opportunities to people who are historically disadvantaged or not a part of your campus community. And you could be like, well, that's unfair to, I don't know, rich white kids named Connor and Maddie. But like, you can't fucking do it. It's so frustrating. So,
hey, I just want to point out real quick, just because I know you haven't seen it. I've got a newer bit that I'm doing where I talk about like rich white people some, and the two names that I use for the names they give their children in the bit are Madeline and Connor. So
okay,
thank you for that. Yeah, you just
yeah.
Validated me there. Although I don't think anyone would dispute that those are very white names, but I just want to let you know we're on the same rich white page as far as that goes. Anyway, continue.
So these two cases they heard today are the University of North Carolina and Harvard. All right, and they're two very different cases, but they're being lumped into affirmative action together. So North Carolina Solicitor General Ryan Park tried to answer Thomas's question about what is diversity. He says, "Oh, it's students." He said that students benefit from having classmates with different backgrounds and viewpoints. And he offered peer-reviewed research on the topic. And the justice retorted, "I don't put much stock in that because I've heard similar arguments in favor of segregation too." He's saying an argument for segregation was that students benefit from diverse viewpoints.
I don't even begin to understand how that's supposed to make any sense. But I think we talked about before when Clarence Thomas came up. He seems to have that sort of, like, he talks about how real racism is and stuff, but he always couches it in the way of like, which is why we don't need to coddle black people. He sees stuff like this as like being hurtful or whatever. It's like like it's, I don't know. He has a similar sort of outlook, he seems to, as like JD Vance does on like poor white people or whatever. Is like, it's just the way they are, and it's not helping them by trying to help them or whatever. But I know that part of their rationale, correct me if I'm wrong, had something to do with, I guess in a previous case years ago, Sandra Day O'Connor made some statement about how, by the year 2028, affirmative action will no longer be necessary in this country. Just trying to be optimistic about the future of race relations in America is clearly all that was supposed to mean. Like, it is my sincerest hope that in the future, we won't even be talking about things like this, but they're now today treating that as like an expiration date on the concept of affirmative action or something. It's like, we're getting there, and really, we don't even need the next 6 years. We can just go ahead and cut it off, but it's got a shelf life anyway. I read
that O'Connor quote earlier today too, and it's like, well, I also wish there was no racism, but wishing is the thing. If you want to know what these fucking like elitist schmucks are concerned with, the two cases, it's been 2.5 hours arguing about North Carolina and 6 hours on Harvard. Fuck Harvard. I cannot give less of a fuck about Harvard. And the premise of the Harvard case is that this white dude, I'm forgetting his name, he's in charge of both cases. He's a conservative legal activist who spent like 30 years trying to destroy affirmative action, among other religious liberty cases and so forth. He takes a ton of money in just to fight these bullshit cases. The premise of the Harvard case is that Harvard is discriminating against Asian students by having some sort of artificial cap on their numbers. Because if it was based purely on meritocracy, every Asian tiger mom would have their kid in Harvard. All right. So, but this goes to something I'm gonna have a hard time expressing this because it's like too big of a thought. But like the point of affirmative action is to break up social networks, right? Or allow people to enter social networks that wouldn't otherwise be in, because if you're locked out of stuff, right? Yeah,
it's sort of like, it's kind of like regulations on big corporations when it comes to the environment and stuff, in my mind, because it's like, you have to do something because they're not going to do it themselves. Like, they're never going to get these opportunities because of the way these systems work and have always worked. If there isn't some mechanism that, affords them the opportunities, and it will have to be implemented because the institutions in question are never going to take those steps on their own. So that's why we need things like this.
But it also goes to the heart of like the twisted reason people want to get into Harvard, because like they're not, it's not there for the education. You can get educated lots of places. Like the famous scene in Good Will Hunting, where is like you spent $200,000 in education you could have gotten with a library card, right? But like what they want is to get into those social networks. They want to get into Skull and Bones and all the other social clubs, so then they can pull up the ladder behind them and be in there now, right?
Right.
But like the whole premise that Harvard is eligible to have any oversight from the federal government is that they take federal funds. Harvard doesn't even have to do that. They could tell the government to fuck off and just be fully private. I looked up Harvard's endowment trade. Do you know what it is off the top of your head?
Jesus, dude, I wouldn't even want to hazard a guess.
$53 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it'd be insane, but I wouldn't have guessed that much.
$53.2 billion. I only short them that $200 million because they could educate a shitload of kids for that $200 million if they wanted to. If Harvard just wanted to educate, and literally everybody who wanted to go to Harvard could get in, they could start satellite campuses in like places where there's land, like Iowa and fucking Texas and shit. They're not going to do that because the exclusivity is the point, because they want to keep the social networks. And this shit drives me insane. Like I look at it, like Yale's endowment, by the way, is they're second place with $42.3 billion. Stanford is 37.8. Princeton has 37 billion. It's like all these places are private, and it's just like it makes me like, I don't know how to like. It's something broken about all this. I don't even know how to fucking phrase it, but like it's not egalitarian in the slightest. But going back to the premise of affirmative action, which Harvard's not doing at all, because like 80% of their students are legacy admits, which means their parents went there. It's like because they're alumni give donations.
Yeah, right.
Because you couldn't possibly crack into that endowment. You got to keep growing it, baby. Every college is now just a fucking a real estate hedge fund,
right? That
also has a few students, and it just like this whole thing makes me furious, because it's like it gets the whole idea of education. But like there was this moment in it that did make me laugh. Justice Samuel Alito took a wholly gratuitous pot shot at Senator Elizabeth Warren, asking whether someone counts as a racial minority if their quote family lore claims American Indian heritage. So Elizabeth Warren's called a random fucking stray at a Supreme Court hearing about affirmative action. It's like just like I don't even understand like what would even like a purely meritocratic admissions process look like? Just test scores,
right? Because
like can athletes go, or musicians? Or like people that are good at acting, or like, does the college essay count? Does public service, does what they're going to major in count? Or because you do things purely meritocratically, you're not going to get the best students in the first place, because that's not how the real world works. So we all start off on uneven. Like let's say I was actually a good student. Let's pretend that was the truth. Let's say a kid like me who was like an aspirational student who wanted to go to Harvard. A kid like that in my high school, if they'd gotten straight A's and everything, would only have like a 4.1 average, because we only had 2 AP classes.
Right.
You're not getting to fucking Harvard unless somebody looks at you and goes, "Oh, well, you're from a poor community, and that's the best you could do." So
that's why I think you need considerations like this and everything, because some kids are born into situations, whether it's their race or socioeconomic or whatever, that they have zero control over. And if you're purely just looking at like kids with the best scores and the best grades from the best schools, there's so many reasons that, kids like that, were born into an inherently disadvantaged in that way situation can just never possibly crack through, like literally no matter what they do. And that is just inherently unfair. And so, we should try to do something to combat that, you would think. But as soon as I saw that they were even ruling on the idea of affirmative action, I was like, well, okay, so that's gone, I'm assuming, just because of the way, the way they be.
Yeah. And I'm like, you can even if like the idea of race-based admissions annoys you, like it's just like you take this people that look exactly alike. You got a kid who's raising the younger siblings with perfect grades, who has 2 jobs the night before SATs. And then you have a kid that looks exactly like them taking the SATs, who has rich parents, who doesn't have to work, who has private tutors and private SAT prep, and their parents bought them an ADHD diagnosis so they get extra test time. And that's a level playing field according to the Supreme Court.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, let's get into it. You guys all saw the home invasion and hammer assault on Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, last week. And it seems like maybe it's not as simple as we all thought, Mark, or at least to hear the right-wing talking heads put it anyway.
We talked about the beginnings of this fucking weird conspiracy movement stuff on Friday when it was only like 3 hours after news had broken after the attack. But like, I'm pretty cynical about at this moment in modern American politics, but even I didn't imagine it could get this fucked up this quick. This feels like a moment where this should become true to everybody, that the right wing is completely unhinged and detached from reality. But I don't have, like, even the way the mainstream media is covering this is like both sides have a problem with violence type situation as opposed to looking at the lies going on about it. But first, let's talk about what actually happened. All right. Guy named David DePape, 2:30 in the morning, Friday morning, breaks into Nancy Pelosi's house, uses a hammer. He's going to hold her husband Paul hostage till Nancy got home. Paul surreptitiously called 911 and he just pressed the buttons on his phone where the operator could hear him talking to the guy, and she figured out what was going on as he talked in code. And then when the cops got there, the guy realized that he was busted and smacked Paul around with a hammer. That's as close as I can come to summarizing the public details of how this went down right now. All right. But how this is reported in the beginning, and this is to be expected from first day reports where there's going to be holes or mistakes, or it's the game of telephone, fog of war type bullshit. There was a local reporter who then retracted that DePape was in his underwear. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But that fact hasn't gone away from public consciousness, even though the reporter admits he misunderstood. It was probably Paul Pelosi was in his underwear because he was at home at 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
It's legal to sleep in your underwear. Nothing weird about it. Just want to put that out there. Then there's another report from somewhere that has since vanished that said there was a third man there who had let police into the home. Don't know where that came from or why it went away. But like, I'm not particularly trusting of police, but there are two different police agencies involved here because I got hit with federal charges. You got the FBI, you got the local San Francisco police. If you follow local San Francisco politics, you would know that the police department fucking hates people like Nancy Pelosi. They would do nothing to carry water for her, as far as I can see, that unless she has some strings to pull that I don't fucking know about. They also pretended to be confused about when he got hit with the hammer, because like, how is he calling 911 if he has head trauma from being hit with a hammer?
Right.
So I don't know what to say about
so yeah,
that.
so all these things that you've laid out immediately got latched onto by people on the right as being like holes they were poking in the convenient cover story of the Paul Pelosi affair. Basically, they're like, well, none of this makes sense. This can't possibly be true. I mean, as soon as I even saw that it happened, I knew it, like you said, I knew it'd be some bullshit, but yeah, I didn't know the full extent. I knew they'd be like tasteless jokes and shit probably, and I figured they'd be like, listen, this man was just unhinged. It ain't got nothing. We don't need to politicize things like this, is where I thought they'd probably go. And you know, Antifa, why would Antifa do something like this? Antifa strikes again, some of that, but it goes further. Even there's more than that. It's farther ranging, and a lot of darts being thrown right now.
Well, we can skip this Jesse Waters video because we kind of just sort of talked about it. But so here's a summary of the 48 hours after the attack of the series of conspiracy theories that they went through. This is from Media Matters, I think. So first, there was speculation it was a false flag operation.
Right.
Just like January 6th, it was a hoax perpetrated by Democrats to show support for their party by slandering the right just for the midterms. There's one version that Antifa did it, like you said. There's another that Nancy Pelosi was furious, mad about her husband over the DUI he got a little bit a while ago. She had him staged a hit on him. Then there was a whole thing. The whole thing was a lie. They're comparing Pelosi to Jussie Smollett. Dinesh D'Souza went all in on this one, which is funny because he went all in on all of the conspiracy theories we're going to be talking about, even though they're mutually exclusive. You can't have a version where Nancy arranged the hit and also Paul was having a gay affair with the guy who hit him.
Right.
And it's like, anyway.
Well, it's also I don't know, these exact types of conspiracy theories are the things that lead to these events anyway. Do you know what I mean? So it's like this vicious cycle and like a feedback loop where it's like some guy reads some crazy far-flung shit on the internet, gets radicalized by it, takes action, in response to it, commits some crazy politically motivated attack, which then gets turned into this wild conspiracy theory about the evils of the left, and it just goes on and on. Like I don't know, the shit is wild, man.
Yeah. So D'Souza said the guy was obviously Antifa because the websites and his social media that had contained all his conservative politics and conspiracy theorizing, he claimed they were fabricated just because he couldn't find them, but they were taken down like every mass shooter or attacker with the political manifesto was taken down because social networks don't want to be associated with it. And also the FBI asked them to, so they're not copycats. Anyway, all that's pro forma, but of course it becomes evidence of the conspiracy when you believe in the conspiracy, just like everything does. That brings them to the part where they're denying that DePape was genuinely right-wing, even though there's a ton of evidence. There was an interview with a friend of his today who talked about how he got radicalized by going on internet wormholes and the QAnon, January 6th stuff, COVID denial, all of it, anti-Semitism. So like anti-immigrant on conspiracy theories, which is funny because he's now part of an anti-immigrant conspiracy theory we're going to get to in a little bit.
Right.
But they lied and said because he used to be affiliated with the Green Party in like 2007. And also, again, because this guy was like part of some sort of nudist group and is from San Francisco and at one point made money selling hemp bracelets, that reads to them as a left winger, which like,
right.
If you're familiar with any sort of how woo-woo politics interacted with COVID denialism and anti-vax stuff, all those people are super right-wing now. So there's nothing different. Every nudist who sells hemp bracelets is now a fucking Nazi. That's how this works.
Well, yeah, it's like their whole thing is basically like, he's a damn hippie. Hippies can't be right wing, and they just
Charles Manson.
Like,
Charles Manson was a fucking Nazi psycho.
Also, and, I mean, isn't the QAnon shaman like he's that type of dude too, isn't he? Yep. Like he's all like, vegan-y, hippie dippy or whatever. And I mean, it's not like it's unprecedented, but it's just funny that it's treated as like an incontrovertible fact of law of the universe by them. It's like if you sell hemp jewelry, you must be a commie liberal or whatever.
Yeah. So after going cycling through those conspiracy theories, the main one they settled on is the one we mentioned earlier, is that Paul Pelosi and DePape are lovers, and the assault was the result of a lovers' quarrel that he happened to bring a hammer to, I guess. And because Paul got the DUI a few months ago, he also must be drunk at the time. They just fabricated a drunkenness.
Right.
Out of nowhere.
And a gayness.
The guy got drunk before. Yeah. Yeah, that too. But at least there's a guy there. They can't even prove any fucking wine or booze in the house.
Like, it's just like there was a guy there.
Yeah. Which brings us to Elon. Because when this went mega wide was Sunday morning when Hillary Clinton posted a news story about the attack and just said basic pro forma stuff about how this is bad for democracy when there are attempted assassinations, which is one of the things Hillary said that's true, one of the few. But so he tweeted this. He has like 100 million Twitter followers.
Yeah. And
he tweeted a link to this story about how Paul Pelosi and David DePape were having a gay affair from a publication called the Santa Monica Observer, which is the original definition of fake news. They literally ran a story in 2016 saying that Hillary Clinton was dead and she had been replaced by a Democratic body double at a debate with Trump. This is the same website. The world's richest man is tweeting out to 100 million people. This is, it feels like we've lost the center of anything. Like there's no shared reality.
Yeah, no, and Elon, he's got such a cult now, especially after the Twitter stuff. Because I know that like when Pelosi gay lover, it wasn't Pelosi's gay lover, it was hashtag Pelosi gay lovers. It also had a grammatical error in it. But when that was trending, on near the top of Twitter or whatever, most of the like the replies and the tweets and stuff that I saw about it were people celebrating the fact that this was possible now on Twitter because of Elon. You know what I mean? They were like, thank you, Elon. Free speech is back on Twitter. It was like they're celebrating. It's like, this is the pinnacle of free speech. Hashtag Pelosi gay lover. But they're all jerking him off for allowing this to run rampant on Twitter as if like there haven't been crazy right wing hashtags have trended plenty of times before. But yeah, he's like become, attached directly to this type of shit, and he's got a massive cult of personality and everything. And yeah, shit's just it's something else.
It's wild watching him radicalize himself in real time because he's just going where the people tell him he's awesome, which I guess
Exactly.
natural human instincts. But it's just like, Jesus, man, you got up until a few months ago, you were the richest man in the world. Now I feel like he's broke now. The way he's behaving, he's broke as fuck. He had to buy Tesla for three. I mean, had to buy Twitter for 3 times more than it's worth. His Tesla stock's down 44%, and crypto is went to zero. So this motherfucker's gonna be washing dishes in a couple months. So there's just one problem with this conspiracy theory, though, and that's that it's been debunked by David DePape.
Yeah, by the man himself. Yeah.
Yes. He told the FBI, and this is a sworn affidavit to an agent who specializes in domestic terror. So, if you're writing conspiracy theory and you're like, I don't believe in any of this, okay, but this woman will go to jail if this is wrong because we're a court of law that it's true. Okay, so the guy says he went there to break Pelosi's knees unless she would come clean about the Democrat cabal because she's the ringleader of its lies. He was going to hold Paul hostage till she got there. And then there's an LA Times report that came out today that said he was on a suicide mission. And so I guess he wasn't going to stop with Pelosi after he broke her knees to get more names. He was going to go to those places and break those people's knees to get more names and kill them or whatever. This guy was all in for it. But like you talked about earlier about how they'll jumpstart this shit, then run away from it and claim these people aren't theirs. We talked about this before, but imagine you're this guy.
Right. Yeah.
You risked it all.
It happened with the QAnon shaman and so many of the other ones. It's what always happens. Like you get disavowed immediately. Like you think you're going to be, a hero, like front page of the right wing lunatic comic book, have your face on it. And then as soon as you do some shit that you've been led to believe is the exact thing that this country needs, immediately they start calling you a fucking commie leftist hippie.
They don't even do
naked
the honor
gay commie leftist hippie.
Like the honorable Republican conservative thing would be to accept the reality of what he did and admonish him for it. They don't even do that and give him that much credit. He goes like, "Hey, look what I did for Q, guys. I'm down. I risked it all for the cause." And they go, "LMAO, this dude gay."
Yeah,
so it's like, Jesus Christ. Fuck. The whole thing is like, I don't know how I got around to feeling sorry for him.
No, but didn't he? Maybe you said this. I know you said he planned on breaking her kneecaps, but didn't he also say he wanted to do that so she would then be in a wheelchair as like a sign to liberal politicians everywhere, to other Democrats and stuff? Like when she rolls into the House of Representatives in her wheelchair, everybody will look at that and be like, "Oh, damn, we better stop caring about gay people and black people, I guess," or we're all going to get kneecapped too. But it was a pretty straightforward and vicious idea that the guy had, which he's been very, very open about, and yet they won't hear it.
There was this is escaped from either fact or fiction at this point, even though it's all been proven to be fiction. It's just purely in the world of meme now, which means it's nothing but jokes. That Paul Pelosi, who, by the way, I'm not a fan of, he seems quite obviously to be a crooked businessman, but he's an 82-year-old man who got hit in the head with a hammer, and he's still in intensive care. Anyone with a shred of humanity probably shouldn't be making a lot of fun of that, not in public anyway. We all make shitty jokes in private. That's what being in private's for. But so let's run through a list of these. Don Jr. Suggested a Halloween costume that involved a pair of underwear and a hammer. He also deleted, let's look at this for a second. So that's used underwear. So that's obviously yellowed out used underwear. So either he posted a picture of his own busted ass filthy underwear, or he got on the internet and bought used men's underwear. Can't figure this out. He also posted a since deleted Instagram post with an altered frame from a South Park comic that depicted two men having sex. It implied they were Pelosi and DePape.
Is part of their whole conspiracy thing that was Paul supposed to also? Did he also have a hammer? Were there two hammers?
No, the guy attacked him had a hammer.
Right. Well,
So,
so really, see, Don Jr., this is a David DePape costume for Halloween.
but that's part of the conspiracy theory is that DePape was in his underwear because they were fucking.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
underwear and a hammer.
Oh
that
yeah,
you're
yeah.
dressed.
Gotcha.
Hey, I'm just
I
trying
got
to.
you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to point out that even in making his tasteless joke, that that it lacks logical consistency. I don't know why I would be surprised by that. But
I do want to say that I seriously doubt any self-respecting, sexy gay man would be caught dead in underwear that look like Don Jr.'s right there. But that's a whole different conversation. Wendy Rogers, who's a Arizona congresswoman in the state Senate. Sorry, she shared a Amazon listing for a Paul Pelosi fake attack novelty item headpiece. It was like the things Steve Martin used to wear with an arrow stick. Made it look as an arrow stick in his head. It was one of those with a hammer off the side of your head. Congressman Clay Higgins joked. He posted a meme that was like, that moment you realize the nudist hippie male prostitute LSD guy was the reason your husband didn't make it to your fundraiser. Kari Lake, we don't
elected
videos,
representatives, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's wild that they, used to the whole like line on any kind of politician was like, oh, they never say anything. Like, they can't say nothing. You know what I mean? They're so political and diplomatic all the time, and all they care about is PR, and fucking you can't get them to say anything real. And now they're just out here just letting their fucking fascist freak flags fly at every given opportunity. It's yeah.
Kari Lake had an event. She's running for governor of Arizona, where she was talking about how we should put guns in schools, and then made a joke about how Nancy Pelosi does, like Nancy Pelosi's house less protected than our schools or whatever. And then the whole crowd guffawed at it, which is like, beyond it being dumb and kind of gross, it's not even a good joke. It's right, a good evil joke. I can do it.
Right.
Even the same when Glenn Youngkin made a shitty joke, he's supposed to be the same nice guy Republican, the governor of Virginia, because he wears a fucking fleece. Even though I could have told he's as much a psycho as anyone, but the media got fooled by him because he presents as affable. But let's talk about the ways this tangentially relates to reality, because they're trying to spin into a story about urban decay and crime. We talked about that on Friday, but like they've gone way overboard. But like it's this transitions from the realm of being total like lies to just bullshit, right? It's because like. I want to tell you this tweet. Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted that violence and crime are rampant in Joe Biden's America. And then she said, it shouldn't happen to me. That was her reaction to Paul Pelosi getting hit with a hammer, is it shouldn't happen to me. Which I guess is how you, like, Greene already walks around acting like a person who's already been hit in the head with a hammer multiple times. Maybe she's having flashbacks. But like, listen to this GOP rep on Fox News if you want to see how they're talking about it. All right.
With this man who say that he was really disturbing, a megalomaniac, and so out of touch with reality. So we have this is probably the bigger problem that we have on our hands right now, Congressman.
Oh, 100%. I was a federal prosecutor, and like when you let dangerous criminals out on the streets, with bail and not put them in prison, you're just asking for this sort of.
He wasn't on bail.
And I think it created the environment where this happens. In each of these cases, I always see a pattern of conduct.
All right, you can cut it back.
Yeah,
so he's trying to make this about bail reform when nothing about this case, like as we talked about on Friday, anybody that promises to stop crime is a fucking liar. As long as there are bills, there will be crime. So like you can do stuff to try to combat crime and bring it down, but like, fuck. I don't even know what to say about these assholes.
No, it's just, they're just like, again, it's anything other than, our rhetoric radicalizes people to be violent. The stuff that we all either like implicitly endorse or outright push onto our base, leads to shit like this directly. The dude straight up admits it himself, but they just can't, they can't have that. So it's just any other way that they can find to deflect it back onto it's the left.
It's a human centipede information cycle. Because it's like, we say stuff, the gas is gapped to hit somebody with a hammer. We go on TV and say, see, people are getting hit in the head with hammers. In Joe Biden's America, she should elect us to stop people getting hit with the hammers, and more people have to do hammer attacks. and around we go. But like that's a cynical way to put it. Even more cynical way to put it is, it's a nice head you have. You better vote for us, or something with a hammer might happen to it. You know, because this is just. But like, so that guy talking blames it on bail reform. Hold that thought in your head while you listen to Charlie Kirk, probably the second most prominent conservative influencer in America, suggest what should be done about this.
Why are we to blame for that exactly?
Skip
And
it
why
like
is he
30
still
down,
in jail? Why has he not been bailed out?
yeah, sorry.
By the way, if some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. I bet his bail's like $30,000 or $40,000. Bail him out and then go ask him some questions.
So,
he said, then go ask him some questions. What's the, I don't know. What's he implying there or whatever? What's he actually even saying?
If we bail him out, we can get the real answer about the gay affair story.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Another element of this where it's not quite fantasy, but it's just bullshit is that DePape is an illegal immigrant. Now, DePape is from Canada. I don't know his immigration status, and neither do they. All right. It's important to remember this. But watch Jesse Waters on Fox News talking about how he's an illegal immigrant, and that's the real problem here. Actually, you know what? Fuck, I just told you what he said, Matt. You can what's the point? So
yeah, it's fucking. We're soft on crime. Leave criminals out on bail. We let immigrants into this country. They're violent. It's the first time I've ever heard them make that argument about a white immigrant. You know, a Canadian immigrant. I thought they only cared about the immigrants that came from, you know, down there as opposed to up there. But just anything they can latch onto. I also saw that Ted Cruz liked or retweeted the whole thing about this dude being an immigrant from Canada or whatever.
Yeah.
Which Ted Cruz is
from Canada.
Originally from Canada. Yeah.
That was a Border Patrol tweet. Because Border Patrol retweeted this thing about, by the way, Border Patrol is not ICE. They're two separate agencies. Border Patrol wouldn't necessarily know this guy's immigration status. No one knows this guy's immigration status as far as I know. Because I'm willing to bet that a guy that mentally ill forgot to re-up his visa. There's the tweet from the Customs Border Patrol Union saying this. But someone tried to figure out where this started. There was a Washington Examiner opinion piece that asserts that since nobody has yet reported on his immigration status, it must be because he's an illegal immigrant. So because no one said or found out yet, obviously there's a cover-up. All right, now we're at the beginning of a conspiracy theory. So the logic is that since no one's reported he's in the U.S. legally or not, we must assume he's not. So then you have the Border Patrol doing this, because the Border Patrol Union likes this thought process because it wants to promote the idea that crime is caused by folks who don't have immigration status. Cornyn retweets it because he's a shameless fucking hack. All right. So if you want to follow all the stuff that's happened here, in the beginning, this is because of lawless San Francisco and Democrat crime. Then it's because of Antifa did it. It was a false flag attack staged by Nancy Pelosi herself. Then it was Nancy putting out a hit on her husband because she's mad at him for getting a DUI a while back. Then it was a gay hookup gone wrong. Now it's illegal aliens are to blame. Or is it D or E or whatever we're at by now? It's all the fucking above. It's all the above. All these mutually exclusive stuff are happening at once. They believe all of it at once. They don't believe any of it, and it fucking drives me insane. And I don't know how we somebody's got to figure a way to pull us back from this, man, because you can't govern a country where fully 40% of the people believes all this bullshit now.
I know. And it's like you said, it's crazy. It's because it's like you would think, I don't know, you would think it would matter to them to land on the one thing. Like if they believe that something happened, you'd think they'd want to figure out what that one thing was and go with it rather than just throw all the shit at the wall and somehow simultaneously believe all of it at the same time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Even though some of it's contradictory and all this shit, it's just like literally anything but admitting what actually happened, which they got straight from the horse's mouth. You know, he admitted exactly why he did it, but they just can't have that. So here we are.
In this case, it might not even matter. I guess it doesn't really matter fully whether 40% of the country thinks that Nancy Pelosi's husband was having a gay affair. It might even matter, but I saw these two stories today in an environment where everyone's mad about gas prices. There are two elections, right? In Florida and Indiana. The Indiana state Republicans in the legislature blocked a gas tax holiday and are running on higher gas prices to blame Biden. And in Florida, Ron DeSantis ended a gas tax holiday and is complaining, running against Biden for high gas prices. Now, their followers will never know they fucked their own constituents to make them mad about gas prices because they can't get honest information. And that's the thing that's the thing that matters more. Like whatever happens on November 8th after people vote, the things people come to believe about it are not going to be grounded in reality because this right-wing infrastructure has been built up where there's a pipeline from social media like Twitter and Reddit to fucking Fox News to Congress to the former president. And it happens, it used to take weeks for it to happen. Now it happens in like 12 hours, along with the help of the richest man on the planet or former richest man on the planet, depending on what you believe about his finances. So yeah. That's it. We can get some comments now.
Yeah, let's do some comments and questions. Also, I'll let y'all know, hey, Christmas is coming up. We still got them shirts. Go to weeklyskews.com. Check those out. Also, thank you, Matt. Like and subscribe, everybody. Hit the like button. Smash it, in fact. Subscribe to the channel. And tell your friends, rate and review. There's the shirts. Yeah, weeklyskews.com. All right, let's get some questions and comments in here. While we're waiting on the first one of those, I'll just give a little shout out. My Tennessee Vols undefeated going into the game of the century this Saturday against Corey Forster's Georgia Bulldogs. It's gonna. I was getting ready for the show and hadn't looked at it, but Corey said, I guess the College Football Playoff Committee ranked Tennessee number 1 and Georgia 3. I didn't see that coming. Also assures me we'll lose now, but either way, it's been a magical season on Rocky Top, and I'm pretty happy about it. Skew Me on YouTube says Elon sucks. Straight to the point. Anyway, okay. Oh, hold on now. I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Nicole Johnson says, anyone else deactivate their Twitter? Me and Mark were talking about this a little bit before we started, and it just really, so I resent the fact that I like objectively need Twitter as one of my mechanisms for, reaching you lovely people out there, because I'm not happy about it either. But also, like, we don't have to necessarily cede the space to the lunatics just yet. Obviously, I have selfish motivations, but yeah, it's like the way Corey put it was, he was like, it's the same way I feel about anybody that's got any sense moving out of North Georgia. He's like, then the only thing that's left behind are the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world. And I think there's something to that. But yes, I'm just saying this because, I need to post promos and videos and stuff on there. So y'all only follow me is what I'm saying. Just follow me, nothing else. Turn on Twitter and just be a Trey Crowder app. But no, people definitely are. There's an exodus for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think about all that, Mark? Taylor Stam says, I'm watching Twitter's decline and it's fascinatingly tragic. Yeah, what do you think about it?
I am personally going to take a lot of joy in helping Elon lose every last dollar that he can. That's all I'm going to say. I will be a part of it because, like, you guys paid attention to the background of like what he's up to. But like, so today he announced yesterday he's like, we're going to charge $5 for a verification badge, and then by the end of the day it was $20. Then Stephen King said, I'm not paying fucking $20 to be verified. And Elon was like, oh, come on, man. We got to get the lights on somehow. How about $8?
How about $8? Yeah, I thought it was funny. Him like haggling with Stephen King as if the price point was the sticking factor for Stephen King. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that it was like Stephen King was be like, okay, well, hey, we can work. What about 6? Can we go 6? Like, I don't think it was the specific dollar value that Stephen King was balking at.
Someone did the math and said that even if like a full 20% of Twitter's verified users paid the full $20 a month, it would still only add up to 1% of the debt service and the money Elon was forced to borrow to buy Twitter after he fucked up and made the deal. Like, I don't think the general consent, like, people seem to believe that Elon did a hostile takeover of Twitter, which he sort of did at the beginning of the year. But at the end, he was forced to buy it after really not wanting to because he didn't have the money anymore and it was overvalued. So like, Twitter to take him court to make him buy it. He doesn't want to fucking be there. He's already fired half the staff. He can't afford to pay them. It's like, he's sweaty right now.
Zach H says Elon is like Edison. He stole all his best ideas from other inventors. I feel like it's what a lot of those guys do,
Yeah, but Elon didn't. Edison at least invented some stuff. Elon bought Tesla. He claims he founded it, but he bought it from 2 other dudes who had already established the company. Like his big innovations were getting a bunch of federal tax credits and stuff. So like, also I didn't realize this till recently. Do you know what Tesla makes their money? Because it's not by making cars. They sell the carbon offsets they get in exchange for being a green company to polluters. So the net impact of their business is increasing pollution. So yeah, there you go.
Of course it is. Oh, yeah, that's just about right there.
Mhm. He's just
Nick,
what if Elon pretend he didn't have any money and you look at his behavior, you'd be like, that guy's fucking dumb.
yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah, based just on his like social media presence. Yeah, you would absolutely think that. Nikon Kolopacum says updates on the Georgia governor race, Grassley, Oz. Yeah, I know Mark said before we started, you were saying the latest polling is looking pessimistic or trending in that direction. But we talked about in the Patreon episode on Friday, polls are sort of up in the air anyway. So, but
yeah, if you guys aren't Patreon subscribers, what we talked about is basically they interviewed a bunch of pollsters about the state of their industry, and the general takeaway was the end of the piece was pollsters take polls less seriously than we do because they know all the flaws baked into them. So just go vote and hope they're all a little off. Be my thing. They're just guessing. They're guessing based upon limited responses and guessing about what the shape of the electorate looks like and then sampling the responses based on that, and they don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you what about Oz and Fetterman specifically?
I think the Fetterman Oz race would be the one I would find most I don't know, it's between that or Warnock and Walker. I can't figure out which one I'd be more like pessimistic about the state of politics. At least Georgia, you'd understand why Republican would have a huge baked-in advantage, but Pennsylvania is like a purple state, and it like doesn't. Oz's huge comeback victory based on nothing but racist trolling would be infuriating. Racist trolling and ableism about Fetterman's stroke and lies about it. So that would I think that would find that more depressing.
Kim Cusado, longtime watcher, and I believe also a patron, says polls are a coin flip. Yeah, I don't know. That was the whole thing on the last Patreon episode, was trying to get into why they seem to be so much less reliable, and it has a lot to do with their outdated methodologies and stuff like that. They mostly rely on just cold calling people and trying to get responses, and it's like, who the hell answers their phone anymore?
Not just cold calling people. The thing that blew my mind was cold calling random phone numbers. Like it's like auto dialing random phone numbers with the same area code. So like everyone has a cell phone now. I don't live on my area code is, neither do you. We talked about that on too. Like so like I would be getting polls from Texas. I don't know what use this shit is. So,
Mr. Wondrous says we need Beasley votes in North Carolina.
That race is closer than Georgia probably, and she's not getting any money because after the last few election cycles, the National Party refuses to believe polls from North Carolina.
Sandy Trunk says, yo, what's the Patreon link to subscribe to TIA? Thanks in advance, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, good guess.
Yeah, I figured it out. I used to work for federal government. I'm pretty good with acronyms. It's weeklyskews.com/more, or if you just go to patreon.com/Trey Crowder, if you want to check out my other wares on there. It's one of the options. I got a tier where I do stuff. We got a Skews exclusive tier, and then there's a combined tier where it's all the shit that I do plus Skews all together. Ashley Stepnewski says, vote Mandela. Is it Mandela or Mandela? Mandela Barnes? Mandela Barnes, right?
Yeah.
Against Johnson.
Yeah, it's Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. I'd be if Mandela wins, it's probably a very good night for Democrats. Let's put it that way. I hope he does, because Ron Johnson is probably the second worst person that's currently in the Senate after Ted Cruz. It's close. There's a lot of bad ones. But like Ron Johnson's running on coding Social Security. I don't fucking. Right. They used to be the third rail of shit, and like nothing sticks to these dudes. They just bullshit their way through everything. It's amazing.
No, and I know that Mandela Barnes is focused a lot on like working people and labor unions and things like that, and that's the type of shit that I've screamed about for years. And if it ends up not working or not moving the needle, like most things seem not to anymore, it's very discouraging. Pistols O'Brien says, vote Whitmer in Michigan, please.
Yes, definitely do. She should be safe. If Tudor Dixon wins in Michigan, then it is a catastrophic night for all of America.
All right. Last one, and I like this one. Jason Bell on YouTube says TIA is also Tuesday is awesome because it's Skews Day. You said it, Jason. Thank you guys very much. TreyCrowder.com for tickets. Weeklyskews.com/more for the Patreon stuff. Keep coming back on Skews. We'll keep doing it. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next time. See you.